everyone. First of all, welcome to the free webinar for outliers. Before we begin, I just want to confirm that you hear me okay. So, if you can please confirm it. So we can get started. If anything changes through the session in terms of audio, just let me know to make some adjustments. So, as some of you may know me, I am Ahmad Shishagar, English, Spanish and Persian translator and interpreter. I hope this webinar helps you to be outliers. Please keep in mind that your mics will be muted throughout this presentation, but you can still use questions that you have. First, we go to the presentation portion, which may last 30 minutes. Then we take a short 5 to 10 minutes and we get back and I get question that you have. Okay, let's get started. What I'm gonna tell you today is a long story. Why do some people success far more than others? There is a story that is usually told about extremely successful people, a story that focuses on intelligence and ambition. In Outlier, Malcolm Gladwell argues that the true story of success is very different, and that if we want to understand how some people thrive, we should spend more time looking around them at such a thing as their family, their birthplace, or even their birth date. The story of success is more complex and a lot more interesting than it initially appears. Outliers explains what the Beatles and Bill Gates have in common: the extraordinary success of Asian athletes, the hidden advantages of star athletes. While all top New York lawyers have the same resume, and the reason you have never heard of the world's smartest man, all in the terms of generation, family, culture, and class. It matters what you were born if you want to be Silicon Valley billionaire, Gladwell argues, and it matters where you from and where you born if you want to be a successful pilot. The lives of outliers, those people whose achievements fall outside normal experience, following a particular and expected logic, and it's making that logic plain. Gladwell present back to the Bill Joy. It's 1971. He is tall and gawky and 16 years old. He is a math whiz, the kind of student that a school like MIT and Caltech and the University of the Waterloo attract by the hundred. When Bill was a little kid, he wanted to know everything about everything way before he shouldn't even know we want to know. His father William says we answered him when he could, and when we couldn't, we would just give him a book. When it came to time to apply to college, Joy got a perfect score on the math portion of a scholastic aptitude test. It wasn't particularly hard. He said matter of factly there was plenty of time to check twice. He has talent by truckload, but that's not the only consideration. It never is. The key of his development is that he has stumbled across that non-descriptive building on Beale Avenue. In the early 90s, when Bill Joy was learning about programming, computers were the size of the room. A single machine, which might have less power than a memory than your microwave now has, could cost upward $1 million, and that's in $1970. Computers were rare. If you found one, it was hard to get access to it. If you managed to get access, renting time, it cost a fortune. What's more, programming itself was extraordinarily tedious. This was the era when computers programs were created using cardboard punch cards. Each line of the card was imprinted on the card using a key punch machine. A complex program might include hundreds, if not thousands, of these cards in tall stacks. Once the program was ready, you walked over to whatever mainframe computer you had access to and gave the stack of cards to an operator. Since computers could handle only one task at a time, the operator made an appointment for your program, and depending on how many people were ahead of you in the line, you might not get your card back for a few hours or every day, or even a day. And if you made even a single error, even a typographical error in your program, you had to take the card back, track down the errors, and begin the whole process again. Under those circumstances, it was exceedingly difficult for anyone to become a programming expert. Certainly, becoming an expert by your early 20s was all but impossible. When you can program for only a few minutes out of every hour you spend in the computer room, how can you ever get the 10,000 hours of practice programming with cards? One computer scientist from that area remembers, did not teach you programming. It taught you patience and proofreading. It wasn't until the mid of the 1960s that a solution to the programming problem emerged. Computers were finally powerful enough that they could handle more than one appointment at once. If the computer's operating system was rewritten, computer scientists realized the machine's time could be shared. The computer could be tried to handle hundreds of tasks at the same time. That in turn meant that programmers didn't have to physically hand their stack of computer cards to the operator anymore. Dozens of terminals could be built all kinds to the mainframe by a telephone line, and everyone could be marketing online. Here is how the history of the period describes the advent of time sharing. This was not just a revolution, it was a revelation. Forget the operator, the card decks, the wait. With time sharing, you could see that your teletype, bank in a couple of the commands, and get an answer then and there. Time sharing was interactive. A program could ask for a response, wait for you to type it in, act on it while you waited, and show you the result all in time, in real time. This is where Michigan came in because Michigan was one of the first universities in the world to switch over to time sharing. By 1967, a prototype of the system was up and running. By the early 1970s, Michigan had enough computing power that 100 people could program seamlessly in the computer center. In the late 60s, early 70s, I don't think there was any type place. Well, that was exactly like Michigan, Mike Alexander said. One of the pioneers of Michigan's computer system said, maybe MIT, maybe Dartmouth. I don't think there were many others. This was the opportunity that greeted Bill Joy when they arrived on the Ann Arbor campus in the fall of 1971. He hadn't chosen Michigan because of its computers. He had never done anything with computers in high school. He was interested in math and engineering, but when the programming bug hit him in his freshman year, he found himself by the happiest of accidents in one of the few places in the world where a 70-year-old could program all he wanted. Do you know what the difference is between the computer in cars and time sharing? Joy says. It's the difference between playing chess by email and spent chess. Programming wasn't an exercise in frustration anymore. It was fun. He says, I lived in the North Campus and the computer center was in the North Campus, Joy says. How much time did I spend there? Oh, phenomenal amount of time. It was open 24 hours and I wouldn't stay there all night and just walk home in the morning. In an Advantage week in those years, I was spending more time in the computer center than on my classes. All I was down there had this recurring nightmare of forgetting to show up for class at all. Of not even realizing we were enrolled. The challenge was that they gave all the students an account with a fixed amount of memory, so your time would run out when you signed on. You wouldn't put in how long you wanted to spend on the computer. They gave you like an hour of time. That's all you would get. But someone figured out that if you put in time equal and then a letter like T equals to K, they wouldn't change you. They wouldn't charge you. He wouldn't laughing at the memory. It was a bug in the software. You could put in T equals K and sit there forever. So as you see, there was a bug in the computer system in 1970 and that Bill Joy could stay more than usual in the computer room by using that bug. Just look at the stream of the opportunities that came Bill Joy's way. Because he happened to go to the Far-Side School like the University of Michigan, he was able to practice on a time-sharing system instead of which punch cards. Because the Michigan system happened to have a bug in it, he could program all he wanted. Because the university was willing to spend the memory of to keep the computer center open 24 hours, he could stay up all night. And because he was able to put in so many hours, by the time he happened to be presented with the opportunity to rewrite Unix, he was up to the task. Bill Joy was brilliant. He wanted to learn. That was a big part of it. But before he could become an expert, someone had to give him the opportunity to learn how to be an expert. At Michigan, I was probably programming 8 or 10 hours a day. He went on. By the time I was at Berkeley, I was doing it day and night. I was the terminal at home. I would stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, watching old movies and programming. Sometimes I would fall asleep at the keyboard, miming his head falling on the keyboard. And you know how the key repeats until the end and it starts to go beep, beep, beep. After that happened 3 times, you have to go to bed. I was still relatively incompetent even when I got to Berkeley. I was proficient by my second year there. That's when I wrote programs that are still in use today, 30 years later. He paused for a moment to to do the math in his lung. Michigan in 1971, programming in the earnest by sophomore year. If you put the stories of the hockey players and the Beatles and the Beam Joy and Bill Gates together, I think we get more a complete picture of the path to success. Joy and Gates and the Beatles are all undeniably talented. Lennon and McCartney had a musical gift of the sort that comes along once in a generation, and Bill Joy, let us not forget, had to mine so quick that he was able to make up a complicated algorithm on the fly that left his professor in awe. But what truly distinguishes stories is not their extraordinary talent, but their extraordinary opportunities. The Beatles, for the most random of reasons, got invited to go to Hamburg. Without Hamburg, the Beatles might well have taken a different path. It was very lucky, Bill Gates said at the beginning of our interview. That doesn't mean he isn't brilliant or an extraordinary entrepreneur. It just means that he understands what incredible good fortune it was to be a lakeside in 1968. All of the outliers we have looked at so far were the beneficiary of some kind of the unusual opportunities. And some kind of opportunities. Lucky breaks don't seem like the exception, with the software billionaires and the rock bands and star athletes. They seem like the rules. That's enough for our session today, and thank you for your watching. Ahmad Shishagar 2000 and